The motorcycles riders dream of are vanishing fast. Europe's already banned them, and America could be next. From roaring cruisers to jet-fueled legends, these machines define freedom on two wheels. Watch until the very end, because the number one bike on our list isn't just iconic, it might be yours. Number 7. Harley-Davidson Street Glide Special. A true rider knows when a motorcycle is more than transport, it's a living piece of history. The Street Glide Special has become a symbol of American touring culture, seen rolling across interstates and small-town main streets alike. In a world where regulations are tightening, this machine represents a riding style that is increasingly under threat. The Milwaukee 8 114 engine delivers 94 horsepower from 1,868 cubic centimeters and 118 pound-feet of torque. Dual front discs and a single rear disc, each with a full anti-lock braking system, provide confident stopping power. Riders consistently praise the engine's smooth torque delivery, making long highway cruises effortless and enjoyable. A dual-bending valve fork handles the front, while an emulsion shock with hand-adjustable preload controls the rear. Wet weight is 829 pounds with a seat height of 27.4 inches. Starting price is $27,999. This bike was built for the miles, not the minutes. Its wide, low-slung stance keeps the rider steady through crosswinds, and the Batwing fairing channels air in a way that reduces fatigue on long stretches. The saddlebags are spacious and lock securely, allowing for extended journeys without compromise. The infotainment system blends navigation, communications, and audio in a clean interface that doesn't distract from the road. Every pull of the throttle delivers a wave of torque that feels as if it was designed for the open American highway, with that signature exhaust note that has turned heads for decades. Beyond its mechanical details, the Street Glide Special is a cultural touchstone for riders who see the motorcycle not just as a machine, but as a passport to a way of life. It has been the centerpiece of countless cross-country rides, rally appearances, and weekend escapes. The broad fairing and integrated storage make it practical for long-distance comfort, but it is the intangible sense of command from behind the bars that keeps owners loyal. One rider recalled taking his Street Glide across 3 states in a single weekend, saying he never felt sore or tired, just free. In Europe, that same freedom is already under siege, with strict emissions laws making the bike harder to keep on the road. If the US follows, it won't just be a motorcycle lost, but a symbol of the American highway. The low rumble under the seat, the panoramic view over the front wheel, and the effortless pull of torque combine into a rhythm that feels almost ritualistic on the highway. Custom paint, upgraded audio, and personalized accessories make each Street Glide Special unique. Seen outside diners or at major rallies, it commands respect. If regulations end its run, one of the last symbols of American touring heritage would vanish. In Europe, this version of the Street Glide has already faced the squeeze of emissions and noise laws, making it harder to find and keep on the road. If similar standards reach the United States, machines like this could face the same fate. For riders who see the road as a place for unhurried, commanding travel, it remains a masterpiece. From American touring dominance, we shift gears into something born across the Atlantic, but just as commanding. If you've made it this far, you clearly know your motorcycles. Hit that like button to keep this conversation rolling, and drop a comment with the bike you think should never disappear. I'm reading every single one, and your pick might show up next time. Number 6. Triumph Rocket 3R. Only a handful of motorcycles make the rider feel less like a passenger of speed and more like its master. The Rocket 3R is the very definition of that dominance, a machine that blends engineering boldness with unapologetic muscle. The Rocket 3R features a triple-cylinder engine producing 165 horsepower from 2,458 cubic centimeters, generating 163 pound-feet of torque. Dual front discs and a single rear disc, all paired with a full anti-lock braking system, provide confident stopping power. Many riders note the engine's effortless surge at any speed, making long highway stretches feel smooth and controlled, while its handling inspires confidence in tight curves. Showa 47mm inverted cartridge forks support the front, and a Showa piggyback reservoir shock with remote hydraulic preload adjustment manages the rear. Wet weight is 641 pounds, seat height 30.4 inches, and starting price $23,895. One rider described his first long trip on the bike as transformative, saying the effortless stability and raw presence made every mile feel like a celebration of power. And by the time he rolled into town, strangers were treating it as much an attraction as the rider himself. The Rocket 3R was never built to blend in. From the first glance, its muscular stance and massive engine block tell you it was designed to overwhelm both the senses and the road itself. The broad tank, sculpted lines, and low seat create an imposing silhouette, while the torque delivery is so immediate that rolling on the throttle feels like being pulled forward by a relentless surge. This is not a high-revving, track-inspired sport bike. It is a torque-rich powerhouse built for riders who want commanding speed without sacrificing long-haul stability. The R1M is not the kind of motorcycle you simply own. It's the kind you prepare for, respect, and continually grow into as a rider. Many owners describe the first ride as an awakening, a reminder that true performance is as much about precision and balance as it is about raw horsepower. The bike's feedback is immediate, almost intuitive, giving skilled riders the sensation that it reads their intent before they've even committed to the next corner. Every ride feels deliberate, like a carefully rehearsed performance, where the road becomes the stage and the rider, the conductor. Its presence extends well beyond the saddle. The R1M draws attention for its purposeful stance and MotoGP-inspired details, often sparking conversations among enthusiasts who recognize its rarity. Owners frequently personalize it with track-specific tires, upgraded braking components, or data acquisition tools, deepening the connection between rider and machine. It is a motorcycle that thrives in an environment where skill is celebrated and limits are explored. If emissions restrictions eventually strip it from public roads, it will not just remove a high-performance machine from the market, it will take away a bridge between everyday riders and the pinnacle of Yamaha's racing heritage. Owning the Rocket 3R is as much about making a statement as it is about performance. One owner admitted he didn't even need the Rocket's power, he just loved how it made him feel unstoppable. But during a trip through France, police stopped him for excessive noise checks and told him bikes like his were being phased out. He laughed it off at the time, but later confessed it made him realize one day soon his Rocket might not be welcome even in his own country. Riders are drawn to it not only for its unmatched torque, but for the way it commands attention in every setting. At fuel stops, it invites conversation from strangers who recognize its massive engine and distinctive triple layout. On the highway, it holds a steady, unshakable line, even when heavy crosswinds challenge lesser machines. The broad seat and forward-set pegs keep the rider in a position of relaxed authority, allowing long stretches of road to pass without fatigue. The Rocket 3R commands attention with its deep exhaust note and striking presence. Bold custom finishes and touring upgrades enhance its style. Losing it to regulations would erase one of the most distinctive, confidence-inspiring motorcycles on the road. Across Europe, environmental restrictions and performance-based regulations are pressing down on machines of this scale, forcing manufacturers to adjust or withdraw entirely. The Rocket 3R's sheer displacement and exhaust note have placed it squarely in the crosshairs of these rules, and if similar measures arrive in the United States, the days of such unrestrained road presence could be numbered. For those who believe a motorcycle should feel like a living, breathing force of nature under their control, it remains one of the purest expressions of motorcycling freedom available today. Leaving behind the Rocket's brute force, we enter the world of speed legends where engineering borders on the extreme. We've prepared a list of must-have rider gear and accessories every biker should own. Check the description for the full list. Number 5. Kawasaki Ninja H2. A handful of machines exist that push boundaries so far, they make seasoned riders question the sanity of their road legality. The Ninja H2 sits firmly in the latter category, blending cutting-edge technology with supercharged performance that has drawn the attention of regulators worldwide. The Ninja H2 supercharged inline-4 produces 228 horsepower from 998 cubic centimeters and 100 pound-feet of torque. Dual semi-floating front discs and a single rear disc, each paired with a full anti-lock braking system, ensure powerful and predictable braking control. Up front, a fully adjustable inverted fork provides precision, while the rear uses a gas-charged shock with piggyback reservoir and adjustable rebound and compression damping. Wet weight is 530 pounds, seat height measures 32.5 inches, and starting price is $32,100. Every detail of the Ninja H2 is designed for speed, from its aerodynamic winglets to the precision cooling system that allows the supercharger to deliver relentless thrust without fade. The surge of power arrives instantly, pushing the rider forward with a force that feels more like an aircraft launch than a motorcycle pull. The frame is engineered to remain stable deep into triple-digit speeds, and the handling is sharp enough to inspire confidence, even as the speedometer climbs into territory few bikes can reach. It is not a machine for casual riding. It demands a rider who understands and respects its capabilities. The Ninja H2 is more than a technical marvel. It is an event every time the engine comes to life. Riders talk about the almost otherworldly sensation of the supercharger spooling up, creating a rush of air and power that feels mechanical yet alive. On open stretches, the acceleration is so fierce that it compresses time and distance, turning long straights into short bursts of adrenaline. The seating position, while aggressive, is surprisingly accommodating for a bike capable of such extremes, allowing skilled riders to control its potential without feeling overwhelmed. The Ninja H2 looks as fast as it is, with mirror finish paint, sculpted fairings, and winglets. One rider recalled opening up his H2 at dawn, the supercharger shrieking as if the bike itself was alive. But he told me he doesn't ride it much anymore. Not out of fear of crashing, but because he's afraid the coming regulations will turn it into a garage ornament. For him, the tragedy isn't just the ban, it's the thought of owning a machine built for flight, but condemned to sit silent. Across Europe, noise and emissions limits have already narrowed the path for machines like this, and some markets have imposed outright bans on versions that do not meet stricter type approval standards. In the United States, the Ninja H2 remains available, but the same environmental trends could soon threaten its future. For those who believe performance should be unrestrained, this motorcycle represents a rare meeting of extreme engineering and road-going legality. After a taste of supercharged insanity, it's time to meet a precision-built predator bred for the racetrack. Number 4. Yamaha R1M. A rare breed of machines brings the exacting discipline of the race circuit straight to the chaos of everyday streets. The R1M is one such machine, a superbike crafted with a singular focus on performance and control. At the heart of the R1M lies a cross-plane inline-4 producing 200 horsepower from 998 cubic centimeters and 83 pound-feet of torque. Dual hydraulic front discs and a single hydraulic rear disc, supported by a full anti-lock braking system, ensure confidence when braking from high speeds. An electronically controlled Uhlens inverted fork handles the front, while a fully adjustable Uhlens shock supports the rear. Wet weight measures 445 pounds. Seat height is 33.7 inches, and starting price sits at $26,999. The R1M's design is unapologetically influenced by Yamaha's MotoGP program, from the aerodynamic carbon fiber bodywork to the electronic suite that manages power delivery, traction, and wheel lift with astonishing accuracy. The cross-plane crank gives it a distinct exhaust note and immediate throttle connection, making the engine feel alive under the rider. On an open stretch of road, the bike's acceleration is both fierce and fluid, allowing skilled riders to carry speed through corners with confidence normally reserved for closed-course competition. This is not a motorcycle for aimless rides. It demands purpose and rewards precision. One owner described his R1M as the closest thing he'd ever had to a dance partner. Every lean, every throttle input felt in sync. But when he looked into exporting it for a track season in Europe, customs rejected it outright under their emissions rules. He told me it felt like someone had called his partner illegal, and the thought of that happening here fills him with anger. Across Europe, increasingly strict emissions laws have squeezed machines like the R1M, forcing adjustments that dilute its original race-bred character. The high revving nature and raw power output make it a target for regulation, and some markets have placed firm limits on its availability. In the United States, it remains a potent option for riders who want near-prototype handling in a street package, but changing regulations could see it follow Europe's path. With Yamaha's track weapon still echoing in our minds, we move to a cruiser that carries the soul of the open road. Number 3. Indian Chief Dark Horse. Before the engine roars, the very posture of certain bikes declares their riders' respect for heritage, style, and unstoppable force. The Chief Dark Horse is one of those machines, a stripped-back cruiser with modern reliability hidden beneath its classic lines. The Chief Dark Horse carries the Thunderstroke 116V twin, producing 79 horsepower from 1,811 cubic centimeters and 120 pound-feet of torque. Dual front discs and a single rear disc supported by a full anti-lock braking system provide strong, predictable stopping power. A telescopic fork leads the front, while dual rear shocks with adjustable preload enhance comfort and stability. Wet weight stands at 781 pounds with a seat height of 26 inches. Starting prices begin at $17,499. Every surface of the Chief Dark Horse carries a deliberate design choice. The matte finishes, blacked-out components, and minimalist fenders give it a brooding look that commands attention without saying a word. The ergonomics keep the rider low and relaxed, yet the foot positioning and wide bars allow for confident leverage when maneuvering through traffic or leaning into a curve. Its torque arrives with the immediacy of a hammer strike, pushing the bike forward with a satisfying pull that only a big displacement V-twin can deliver. The sound from its exhaust is deep and measured, the kind of tone that turns heads long before the bike is in view. The Chief Dark Horse appeals to riders who value more than just numbers on a spec sheet. It speaks to those who want a motorcycle to be part of their identity. The long, low frame and aggressive stance communicate confidence before the engine even starts. On the road, its steady pull through each gear delivers a satisfying rhythm, perfect for sweeping back roads or long stretches of highway. It's the kind of bike that encourages unhurried travel, where the journey is as important as the destination, and every mile adds to the story of ownership. One rider bought his Chief Dark Horse after his divorce, saying it became his therapy, endless miles of steady thunder drowning out the noise of life. But he read that in parts of Europe, cruisers like his are already banned for their sound. His biggest fear isn't fines or tickets, it's silence. The day when his healing ride is no longer allowed. Off the bike, the Chief Dark Horse draws the same respect. Its blacked-out finishes and minimalist detailing make it a blank canvas for personalization, whether through subtle chrome touches, touring accessories, or custom exhaust systems. Many owners see it as a long-term companion rather than a passing purchase, maintaining and upgrading it to match their evolving style. Its presence at rallies, small-town main streets, and roadside diners reinforces its role as a symbol of classic American motorcycling. If restrictions were to remove it from the roads, the loss would reach beyond performance figures. It would erase a living piece of American motorcycling heritage. In European markets, environmental and sound restrictions have made life difficult for air-cooled cruisers of this size and character. Many versions of the Chief Dark Horse require extensive modification before they can be sold there, and some are simply excluded entirely. If similar regulations gain ground in the United States, the qualities that make this bike so desirable, the raw torque, the commanding exhaust note, the unapologetic weight and presence, could be the very reasons it is forced off the road. For riders who prefer their machines to carry the spirit of an earlier era while still delivering modern dependability, this motorcycle offers a rare blend of both worlds. From the shadowed elegance of the Chief, we roll into the history books with a machine that once reigned supreme on sheer speed alone. Number 2. Suzuki Hayabusa. There are motorcycles that make an entrance so fierce the entire industry takes notice. The first-generation Hayabusa did exactly that, becoming both a performance icon and a lightning rod for controversy almost overnight. Beneath its aerodynamic fairings, the first-generation Hayabusa housed a liquid-cooled inline-4, producing 173 horsepower from 1,299 cubic centimeters and 102 pound-feet of torque. Dual front discs and a single rear disc, paired with a full anti-lock braking system, provided precise stopping ability. Up front, a telescopic cartridge fork balanced agility, while the rear used a link-type shock with adjustable preload and rebound damping. Weighing 573 pounds wet, with a seat height of 31.7 inches, it launched in 1999 at $10,499. The Hayabusa's design was dictated almost entirely by aerodynamics, resulting in its now legendary flowing bodywork that looked more like a wind tunnel model than a traditional sport bike. It was engineered to cut through the air at extreme speeds, and on release it reached a verified top speed just shy of 194 miles per hour, a number unheard of for a production motorcycle at the time. Its acceleration was equally shocking, delivering relentless power from low in the rev range and maintaining it in a way that felt limitless on open roads. The name itself, borrowed from the Japanese peregrine falcon known for high-speed dives, became synonymous with outright speed in motorcycling circles. The first-generation Hayabusa earned its reputation not just through top speed records, but by creating an entirely new category of sport touring performance. Riders often recall the first twist of the throttle as a defining moment when the surge of acceleration feels almost endless, and the horizon rushes toward you in a blur. Yet, for all its raw capability, it remains a surprisingly versatile machine. Its broad power band and stable chassis make it equally comfortable eating up interstate miles or carving through winding back roads, giving owners the best of both long-distance comfort and high-speed thrill. Beyond performance, the Hayabusa carries a status that few motorcycles achieve. Its distinctive bodywork, with its aerodynamic curves and elongated stance, became instantly recognizable and often imitated. For many, owning one was a badge of honor, a declaration that they valued both engineering excellence and timeless design. Even today, gatherings of enthusiasts feature rows of customized Hayabusas, each telling a unique story through paint, wheels, and exhaust choices. One owner remembered the first time his Hayabusa's needle crept past 108 miles per hour, saying it was like touching the edge of time itself. Years later, he watched European governments put the bike under lock and key, its speed too much for lawmakers. Now he worries America will do the same, erasing the one machine that made him feel limitless. European governments quickly took notice, with some nations banning or heavily restricting the sale of the early unrestricted models. The Hayabusa was one of the driving forces behind the so-called gentleman's agreement among major manufacturers to limit production motorcycles to 186 miles per hour. That agreement kept later versions in line, but it also cemented the reputation of the first generation as the last ungoverned giant of the speed wars. In the United States, these early bikes remain legal, but their ability to push far beyond legal limits means they are watched closely by lawmakers and law enforcement alike. For riders who value a mix of engineering audacity, timeless styling, and historic performance, the Hayabusa holds a place no other sport bike can match. The final entry on this list leaves even this legendary machine looking tame, replacing conventional combustion with jet turbine power to create something so extreme that entire continents have refused to let it share the road. If you've enjoyed this ride through history's greatest machines, there's more ahead. Subscribe now so you never miss the stories, the legends, and the rare machines still carving their place on the road. Number 1. MT-TY2K Turbine. Superbike. While most bikes evolve, a select few erupt onto the scene as something entirely new. The Y2K Turbine Superbike falls firmly into the second category, a machine so unconventional that it trades pistons for a turbine and burns jet fuel instead of gasoline. At the heart of the Y2K sits a Rolls-Royce Allison gas turbine producing 320 horsepower from roughly 2,000 cubic centimeters with an incredible 425 pound-feet of torque. One rider recounted taking it onto a closed runway where the sensation of thrust felt less like a motorcycle and more like being launched from a jet. So powerful it left bystanders speechless. Dual front discs and a single rear disc supported by a full anti-lock braking system keep control in check. A fully adjustable inverted fork and rear monoshock provide stability. At 500 pounds dry with a 32-inch seat height, it offered comfort for its extreme capability, starting at $175,000. The Y2K's defining trait is not just its power, but the way it delivers it. Twist the throttle and there is no gradual buildup, only the immediate sustained thrust of a turbine spooling to full speed. The sound is unlike any other motorcycle, a piercing jet engine whine that turns heads before the bike is even in sight. Its acceleration is ferocious, but its smoothness at high speeds is equally remarkable, making triple-digit cruising feel eerily calm. Even the exhaust demands respect, as the heat pouring from its rear can melt plastic from several feet away. The experience of riding it is closer to piloting a small aircraft than operating a conventional motorcycle. One rider said his Y2K terrified him at first. The turbine scream drew crowds before he even started moving. He later found out that in Europe it isn't even classified as a motorcycle, but as an experimental hazard kept off the roads entirely. He fears the US will follow, leaving his $175,000 dream bike as nothing more than an exotic museum piece. Owning the Y2K is less about practicality and more about chasing a dream that few riders will ever touch. Its turbine whine and explosive thrust make every ride feel like a private air show on two wheels. Collectors prize it not just for its performance, but for its rarity and the bragging rights that come with piloting a jet-powered motorcycle. For those lucky enough to own one, it's more than a bike. It's a piece of mechanical history. In Europe, this bike's combination of noise, emissions, and unconventional engineering has kept it off public roads entirely. It is viewed less as a transportation device and more as an experimental vehicle, requiring special licensing and restricted use permissions in most regions. In the United States, it remains a rare and exotic sight, but its legality depends heavily on state-level regulations, and tightening environmental rules could threaten that status. For riders who believe ultimate performance should be pursued without compromise, the Y2K Turbine Superbike is an unmatched statement, a final defiant chapter in the story of machines too powerful, too unique, and too ungovernable to fit neatly within the limits of the law. Every motorcycle we've covered today carries more than just metal and horsepower. It carries history, identity, and the freedom of the open road. But as regulations tighten, these machines are vanishing faster than most riders realize. If you value power, presence, and the spirit of riding, this is the time to stay connected. Hit that subscribe button and join a community that refuses to let these legends fade quietly. Share this video with a fellow rider who needs to know what's at stake. The road ahead may be changing, but together we'll make sure the ride never ends.